Hello, this is Miss Tay. I promise you guys a Unit 4 study guide video on solving equations and inequalities for our test coming up tomorrow. So at first my intentions were to make this video just a quick overview of maybe 3 or 4 problems that may prove difficult or confusing, but I'm going to do a run through of the whole study guide in order for you to try to grasp anything that you may have missed. So to start for this test and therefore for this study guide, the notes that you would need are these. You will need your keyword notes, inequalities and their keywords. You would need your scale notes that discuss the properties of equality and opposite or inverse operations. You would need your one-step equation notes for multiplication and division. And you would need your solving one-step equation notes for addition and subtraction. All of these notes will help you study for and be able to solve the problems featured in this study guide packet. So I am going to start with the first section that talks about solving equations using inverse operations. All right, so I'm just going to do a sampling. Let's look at number 2. So for number 2, it says f plus 17 equals 26. So the first thing I taught you guys to do, and I want you to do, is to just point at what we call our scale. So that's the equal sign. Then we're going to circle our variable. So now that I have my variable circled, I'm going to ask myself, what is being done to this variable? And we see here that it's a positive 17, it's plus 17. So 17 is being added to my variable. So now that I know that, I'm going to think, how can I undo that 17 so that I can isolate my variable? Well, if 17 is being added, the inverse or opposite operation of adding 17 is subtracting 17. So I'm going to subtract 17 from both sides. All right, so I have 17 subtracted from both sides. But the cool thing about this is that these two 17s here, just like we wanted, they cancel out, so we're going to cross them out. So now that just leaves us with f. And sorry that my camera's so shaky. I'm literally holding my phone up while I do this. Okay, so now we have to simplify the other side. So 26 minus 17, that's 9. So we just solved for f, and we are saying that f equals 9. Well, the instructions for this section say to solve each equation below and check each solution. So we're going to check our solution, and this is how. First, we begin by writing the original equation. So f plus 17 equals 26. And now we're going to substitute in the value we said f is. So we said f is 9. So let's plug in our 9 for f. And now we're going to solve both sides to solve the simplified side to see if they check out. So 9 plus 17, that's 26. And 26 does indeed equal 26. So our answer of f equals 9 is correct. All right. So now we're going to look at number 4. Number 4 says d minus 14 equals 13. So I'm going to go ahead and point my arrow at my scale. So I know I have this side and I have this side. Now I'm going to circle my variable. Okay. And now I'm going to ask myself, what's going on with this variable? Well, I see that 14 is being subtracted. So I have to ask myself, how can I undo that? How can I get rid of that 14? And we know that it's by doing the inverse or the opposite operation with the same number. So if I am subtracting 14, that means I need to add 14 to both sides. All right, so I've added 14 to both sides. Now, what's cool is that, like a magic trick, I told you poof is gone. These two 14s cancel out, so we simply cross it out. And now on that side, we're just left with the variable d. And on this side, we could simplify it. So 13 plus 14 equals 27. So we have solved for our variable d. We say that d equals 27. Now we're going to check our work. We do that by writing the original equation. D minus 14 equals 13. And now we're going to substitute in the value for our d, which we said was 27. So 27 minus 14 equals 13. Now we're going to solve on this side. We're going to simplify it and see if it checks out. So 27 minus 14 is 13. And 13 does indeed equal 13. So we checked our work, and we know that d equals 27 is correct. All right, so let's look at number 6. Okay, so for number 6, it says 7u equals 63. So just like we did in previous problems, I'm going to first point to my scale. And now I'm going to circle my variable. Okay, so what is being done in this variable? It's being multiplied by 7. So in order to get that u by itself, I have to get rid of that 7. And in order to do that, I have to do the inverse or the opposite operation with the same number. So what is the inverse or the opposite operation of multiplying by 7? It's dividing by 7. So I'm going to divide both sides by 7. Okay, so I've divided both sides by 7. So these two 7s, they cancel out. So we're just going to cross them out. And that leaves us with our u on that side. But we can simplify the other side. 63 divided by 7 is 9. So we are saying that our u equals 9. So now it's time to check our work. So I'm going to write the original equation. 7u equals 63. And now I have to plug in or substitute my u. Instead of u, I'm going to put what I found for u, which is 9. Okay, and now I'm going to simplify this side, and 7 times 9 is 63. And 63 does equal 63, so our answer of u equals 9 is correct. All right. Now let's look at number 8. Number 8 is w divided by 6 equals 2. So I am going to go back to my lovely green pen. And let's look at this. So I'm going to point to what my scale is, which is our equal sign. And I'm going to circle the variable. All right. So now I have to ask myself, what's being done to that w? And as I see, it's being divided by 6. So in order to cancel that out, so I have w isolated, if I'm dividing by 6, the opposite or inverse of dividing by 6 will be to multiply by 6. So I'm going to multiply both sides by 6. All right. And so now these two 6s, they do a little math magic trick and they cancel out. All right. So we cross it out. So now we're just left with W. And now we can simplify this other side. And 2 times 6 is 12. So now we're going to check our answer. And this is where we have to look and see if our answer makes any sense. Sometimes it's easy to get confused with the multiplication and division problems and to choose answers that don't quite fit. So let's see. W over 6 equals 2 is our original problem. And then now I'm going to substitute for my W what we found, which is 12. So 12 divided by 6 equals 2. Now after I substitute it. Now let me simplify this side. 12 divided by 6 is 2. And would you look at that? 2 does indeed equal 2. So it checks out. So our answer is correct. W does equal 12. Now let's move on to the next section. Solving real-world problems using equations. All right, so this one says, DeAndre is saving money for a TV that costs $139. He has already saved $65. How much more money does DeAndre need to save? All right, so, it says draw a picture, write an equation, and solve the equation to answer the question. All right, so I'm going to start by drawing a picture. All right, so my picture is going to be where I like to visualize this is the total amount of money that he needs. And the problem just told us that that's $139. Right? So the total that he has, that he needs is $139. He has already saved $65. I don't know the rest. That's what I have to figure out. So that's my picture. Now I'm going to write my equation. My equation, I know that 139 is my total. So it's going to go after my equal sign. And I see that I have X that I don't know and 65 that I do know that he's already saved. And together they equal 139. So if together they equal 139, then that means that I am adding. So I'm having my X plus $65 is $139. So that's my equation. So now that I have my equation, I'm going to solve my equation so that I know how much more money does DeAndre need to save. So looking at my equation, I'm going to rewrite it over here. All right, so I rewrote the equation. So now I have X plus 65 equals 139. And I'm going to do what I do any other time I solve my one-step equations. I'm going to point to my scale so I can keep both sides of it balanced. And now I'm going to circle my variable. And I ask myself, what's being done to that variable? 65 is being added to it. So if I want to isolate this variable of X so I can see what it equals, I have to do the opposite operation. So the opposite operation of adding 65 would be subtracting 65 from both sides. All right. So, and it looks a little sloppy. Sorry, guys. So I subtracted 65 from both sides, and those 65s canceled out. So now I'm just left with X on that side. So on this side, I can simplify. 139 minus 65 is 74. So the money that he needs to save, that he has left to save, is $74. Okay, so this is how you would draw a picture, write an equation, and then solve the equation to answer the question above. Let's flip the page. Okay, so for number 10, it says Avery earned scores of 36, 45, and 48 points on his first 3 Spanish quizzes. If he earned a total of 180 points for the quarter, how many points did Avery earn on the 4th quiz? And this is another one asking us to draw a picture, write an equation, and solve the equation to answer the question above. So there are a few pieces of key information here. For one, they say if he earned a total of 180 points. That gives me a hint that we're going to add those scores up in order to equal 180 points. So what I'm going to first do is that I know for my equation later that the total, or my equals, is going to be 180. So I do know that. But notice that we only have 3 of the scores and 1 is missing. So this is a great opportunity for a picture. So I'm going to draw my picture and I'm going to come back to explain it. All right, so I'm back and I drew my picture. So we were told that Avery has 3 scores. So that was a 36, the 45, and a 48. We know that those scores plus whatever the 4th one is equals 180 altogether. All right. So the first thing to do is to add up the 36, the 45, and the 48, because we want to know what those together equal so that we know how much more we need to get to 180. So in a picture, that will look like this. Once we've added up 36, 45, and 48, we see that it equals a total of 129. So now we know that 129 plus our X, that's whatever the last score is going to give us a total of 180 points for the quarter. So that's our picture, but our equation will look like this. 129 plus X equals 180. So that's what we are going to now solve for. Even though the X is in a different position, we're going to do this the same way we have solved other one-step inequalities. And we're going to start with pointing our arrow to our scale and circling our variable. So we can still, even though X is not in the written first, we can still go ahead and ask ourselves what's going on with X. And 129 is being added to X. So in order to get rid of that, and it's a positive 129, it doesn't have a negative sign there or a minus sign, right? So we know that that's positive. So we're going to subtract that 129 from both sides. All right, so these 129s here, they cancel out. And we're just left with X equals, and now we have to simplify 180 minus 129, and that is 51. So we know that his final score is 51. So that means Avery has scored 36, 45, 48, and 51 points for a total of 180 points for the quarter.